This is how to answer the interview question, walk me through your resume. This is one of the most common and popular interview questions that you will get when you're applying for a job. So make sure you know how to answer this question appropriately. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how to specifically answer this question, and I'm going to cover mistakes that I see people make that lead to them getting rejected. Really quickly, if you're enjoying the content on this channel and haven't subscribed already, please do, and drop a like if you think these videos are helpful so we can see which ones we should continue to make more of and less of. We really do appreciate your feedback. Okay, so the question, walk me through, is very similar to tell me about yourself and should we hire you. All three of these questions are asking you the same exact thing, so your answers are basically going to be identical. And you may notice that's why you'll never get asked two of these three questions when you're, because they all are asking the same thing. Okay, so how do you actually answer this interview question? Well, first, you're going to need to fully understand the role of the job that you are applying for. You need to know what are the key skills that they require for the role, and also experience or skills are nice to have, but they really actually want. The best way to get this information is obviously to read the job description, but the recruiter or the hiring manager for more details before you answer this question. That way you can customize and tailor your experience and your response to exactly what they're looking for. Now remember, this is typically going to be the first question that you get asked in your interview, which is because they want to actually make sure that they're talking to the right candidate and you have all of the skills and qualifications that they need for someone to do this job. So you need to think about your answer kind of like a laundry list that you're going to be reading off to the interviewer. So once you have all of the details about the job, you're then going to go ahead and actually answer the question and talk about your skills or experience that they need in this particular role. Your answer should be somewhere between 2 and 3 minutes. You want to make sure you have time to cover all of the relevant skills and experience that you have and all of the relevant projects that you've done and the impact. But don't make your answer too long. Generally, your answer can get a little on the longer side if you don't have the right balance of just purely listing skills and giving examples. You're going to want to strike that appropriate balance so you're somewhere within that 2 to 3 minute range. Now, some of your skills don't actually require you to give an example to make your point. Some skills are very black and white. Either you know how to do them or you don't. And some other skills are when you're going to want to incorporate a very, very brief example to demonstrate your aptitude in this skill or the impact that you had leveraging this skill or experience that you have. Now, I have a very, very important tip here for you, and that is you need to know what your differentiating factors are as a candidate, and make sure you're able to weave that into your 2 to 3 minute answer. This is going to help you stand out from all of the other candidates who basically on paper and on their resume have very similar backgrounds to you. Now, I do recommend that answer is chronological to match the order of what's presented on your resume, but this is not a hard and fast rule. The most important thing is that you're covering relevant experience and skills that they require for the job. Okay, so let me walk you through a quick example of how I would answer the interview question, walk me through your resume, if I was applying for a technical recruiting position. So I know that you're looking for a strong technical recruiter to hire software engineers for your startup. Now, I have been recruiting software engineers for the last 3.5 years. I've been recruiting folks from the staff engineer level all the way up to, and while I do work for a large enterprise company, the team that I actually hire for was recently formed earlier last year. So while my company is quite large, the team that I'm hiring for started with 0 people, and we've been hiring almost up to 250. So while it is a larger company, the folks and the software engineers that I hire for are basically working in a startup environment within my broader company. So I am used to hiring and attracting talent in this competitive marketplace. Seen on my resume, I've consistently exceeded my hiring goals, but on top of that, I do a lot of projects, whether that's related to process improvement or just helping out my overall staffing team and my clients. You may have saw on my resume that last year, I basically revamped an entire leveling rubric for the entire that I support, and then we rolled it out globally. This led to global changes in how we evaluate candidates and how we conduct interviews. It also changed all of our leveling criteria so that we could properly level, attract talent with the right pay structure for these types of software engineering roles. So now that you know how to answer the interview question, what are some common mistakes that I've seen that lead to people getting rejected? Well, the first one is that you take the question a little too literally and you actually walk them through your entire resume from the beginning of when you graduated college. Though this may seem counterintuitive because they asked you to walk them through your resume, but remember, you applied for this job or they probably already have your LinkedIn or your resume, so you don't need to repeat everything that's on there in chronological order unless it's relevant for the role itself. Of course, this is the major reason that people's answers tend to be way too verbose and long, going way over that 3-minute time limit recommendation. Again, just focus on the relevant skills that are needed for the role. The second mistake that I see is people talk way too long, and a lot of this is not their fault because while they're focusing on all of the key skills that someone may need for this job, they get really stuck into the details and they walk them through really long examples to demonstrate that they actually know how to do something, which isn't always necessary. When you're sharing examples to show them how good of a candidate you are, just remember that you don't have to do the entire STAR method. You're just going to do a very brief example, probably somewhere between 10 and 20 seconds. That's all you really need to demonstrate the point that you know what you're doing. Another common mistake is repeating too much of what's directly already on your resume. I know you've taken the time to craft a really awesome resume, and that's probably why you're even getting interviewed right now. But remember, you don't want to just regurgitate everything that's on there. Talk about your relevant skills, but also talk about stuff that may not be on the resume or may not be things that are easily apparent. Maybe you want to draw connections to them as to why you took certain jobs to gain specific skills, which now led you to be perfectly qualified for this role. And the last mistake I've seen is not proactively addressing any concerns that someone may have when they're looking at your resume. Sometimes people may ask you this interview question because they're actually a little curious about something that's on your resume, which could be potentially a work gap, or if you have really short stints at some companies, they're going to want to make sure that you are not a flight risk. So make sure you're proactively answering these questions, explaining what you were doing during your time off. You weren't just staying home watching Netflix, you were actually building up your skills, and explain to them why you left some companies in a very short period of time. Maybe it was a poor management, or the company just wasn't doing well, there was layoffs, your job was affected by COVID-19. Just make sure you're proactively addressing the elephant in the room. Alright, so now you know how to answer one of the most common and somewhat tricky interview questions, which is walk me through your resume. Now, if you want help improving your resume so that you can get these interviews in the first place, you can click this video right up here. Now, thank you all for watching, really appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the next video.